A Brazilian Supreme Court justice has broken with his colleagues on the trial of former President Jair Bolsonaro, voting to annul it, citing the court's lack of jurisdiction. The High Court still seems likely to convict Bolsonaro of plotting a coup to remain in power after he was voted out of office in 2022. Two judges already voted to convict, and the remaining two were appointed by leftist President Luiz Lula da Silva. Well, for more on this story, we can cross to France 24's Jan Onosco. Jan, tell us more about these latest developments.
Well, as you say, today a bit of divergence from the other judges by the current judge who is deliberating whether to convict Bolsonaro and 7 other defendants on these charges relating to attempts to stage a coup d'etat after Bolsonaro lost the 2022 election to President Lula. Now, the case is being judged by the first chamber or panel of Brazil's Supreme Court. So those are 5 judges in total, and they need a simple majority, i.e. 3 votes, in order to convict Bolsonaro and the other defendants in this trial. So today we've been hearing from this third judge, and all the signs are, as you say, that he's going to vote to throw out the case or vote against convicting these 8 defendants. He's argued that this trial should have been heard by the full Supreme Court, in other words, all the 11 judges who make up Brazil's highest legal authority. And he's using this as an argument, as I say, to throw the case out. He's also agreed with some of the defense lawyers' arguments that the defendants weren't given enough time to defend themselves. And he's also said that planning to stage a coup d'etat doesn't mean the defendants constituted a criminal organization, because one of the charges against Bolsonaro is that he was the head of an armed criminal organization. Now, Bolsonaro's supporters consider him to be the most sympathetic judge towards the former president, and they were even hoping that he might ask for the papers to be called in so that he could analyze them further, which would have delayed sentencing and judgment in this trial by another 90 days. That's not likely to happen. What will happen, though, what is likely to happen, is that he will vote against conviction, and that will mean that, as it stands at the moment, the tally will be 2 votes in favor of convicting Bolsonaro and 1 against.
And Jan, if you can, just remind us what exactly is really at the heart of this trial. I mean, Bolsonaro considers it a witch hunt.
Absolutely. What is at the heart of this trial is an alleged attempt by Bolsonaro and his supporters, his allies, for him to remain in power after he lost the 2022 election to President Lula. According to the main investigator in this case, Alexandre de Moraes, this had been planned and staged from at least a year or 2 before that, when Bolsonaro was beginning to question the veracity, the legitimacy of Brazil's electronic voting system. He also remained very silent after he lost the election. He then left the country as well. Documents have been found where there was an alleged attempt potentially to remain in power by him. So if Bolsonaro is found guilty on all 5 charges against him, he could be facing a prison sentence of up to 43 years. Now, at the moment, with this particular judge, Luiz, who will probably vote against convicting Bolsonaro, that's unlikely to save him. We still have 2 judges to vote, and they are seen as likely to convict Bolsonaro, but it could leave the door open for him to potentially overturn this conviction in the future. And in fact, people are already talking about that. So, for example, the governor of Sao Paulo, Tarcísio de Freitas, who's seen as the most likely candidate to represent the far right in next year's presidential elections in Brazil, he's already said that if he is elected as president, the first thing he will do is to pardon Bolsonaro and free him. And we've got to remember here that President Lula himself also spent almost 2 years in prison on convictions of corruption before he was released on a technicality. So it's possible the same might happen with Bolsonaro in the future. For the moment, though, a conviction is seen as likely, and if that is the case, Bolsonaro could be facing a lengthy prison sentence.